You're streaming, preparing. Okay, okay, cool. All right, okay, so welcome to the Morning Market Show. I'm your host, Paul LeJoy, and every week we interview some really good people who are doing things in real estate. And this morning on the show with me is Tim Farnham. I'm going to be asking some questions about what's been doing in real estate, but we're going to talk about a market update because it's Friday, so we're going to talk about what's happening in the market right now. A lot of people are scared. So this is every Friday, 9 o'clock, we're going to be doing this, right? So I'm going to talk about what's happening in the market, and people are scared and all that kind of stuff. But that's okay. We're here as experts. So we dissect the market, and we are going to just bring it to you as it is. So with me, as I said on the show today, is Tim. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
I'm so glad to have you, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, Tim, how long have you been doing real estate?
I've been in real estate for 8 years.
8 years. So you started in 2014?
Yeah, 2013 actually. So
Oh, okay.
Like May 2013 is when I got my license. Yeah.
That's a good time to start because the market at that time just took off.
Yeah, things were
every
on
market
the
I looked
upswing.
at, every market I looked at, February 2012, that's when the market took off. So you
Yeah.
joined at the right time.
Yeah, it was a good time to get in for sure.
What made you join real estate?
Oh my gosh. Well, my previous career was a nuclear engineer.
Nuclear engineer.
Yeah. So a lot of data, a lot of statistics, and a lot of working by myself. And I really enjoy meeting people. I really enjoy helping people. I really enjoy finance and just helping people. Yeah, just helping people out. And so when I transitioned into real estate, it was really fun because I got to meet a lot of fun, exciting people, and I got to help them, achieve their dreams financially or just where they're trying to go and solving people's problems. So
wow,
nuclear was way more fun.
Reminds me of Chernobyl. I used to be in England when they had that thing, and now the war in Russia in Ukraine just brings to mind nuclear. Wow.
Yeah.
You're a big man then.
Yeah.
Okay, before we continue real estate, I want to talk about what I saw yesterday and a spectacle of excellence, right? So display of excellence. I watched the Warriors, just beat the heck out of the Celtics, right?
Yeah.
I was like, gee, but my best game was the game game four. I saw Curry single-handedly carry the Warriors to victory, and I saw especially the second to the last three-pointer that he made. Okay, I don't play sports, but I observe sports, and these guys, if they did not win that game, there's absolutely no way that they could have won the championship. Absolutely not. But you watched the game yesterday. Tell us about are you a Warriors fan?
I did. I live downtown San Francisco, so it's just right over there. So that's pretty neat to see, and a lot of the excitement on the streets, especially afterwards. So it was very interesting to see. Unfortunately, it wasn't at home, but it was really cool to see them just kind of walk away with it. They a little bit at first, it was a little slow, but then at the end, they just it was just the Golden State show. So that was fun to watch.
Well, that's amazing, man. What do you learn from this? As somebody, a nuclear engineer or nuclear scientist, and now into real estate, what do you learn from these guys who are playing sports?
Well, they didn't give up. Like, they were down at the beginning, at the beginning of the series. And,
yes.
At the end of the day, even if even if you don't win right away, you just you keep playing and you keep going, and every day is a new day. And you can't dwell on your previous failures or your previous losses. You just got to look forward, see what you can do today and tomorrow to make things better, and win the game today, regardless of what happened yesterday.
Awesome, man. Good. So never give up. Just continue pursuing your dream,
Right.
Your destiny. And like Kerry said, this is his appointed time, to do what he does, and he does it so well. Okay, cool. Now, you are a real estate agent, and you've been in this thing since 2013. Tell me about your highlights of this career. So you came into it and you were passionate about it. What made you choose to become a real estate agent?
Right. So I was first starting to look at buying a house back, we'll say, in darn near the peak in like 2006, 2007. And I mean, this isn't the greatest story, but I ran into some agents that were bragging about basically selling people loans that the loan officer knew that they could never afford. And that really got me like questioning about like the ethics of real estate. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I can do this better. And like, so I wanted to be an agent that like people could trust and people can go to and just really trust. And so that's what I did. I got it mainly to start kind of learning the business. I'm a student of life. I love learning things. So getting my license was, just kind of to learn the business, but I had a really good mentor, or I found a really good mentor, and he was all about the ethics behind real estate and really having a servant mentality towards your clients and really understanding their needs and really being there to help them out. And so that's why I initially got into it. For me, I'm also all about family. Like, my highlights are the fact that I've helped my brother buy home after home after home, and he's just accumulating wealth, as he goes. He's an engineer, working his way off, but he's a millionaire because, we started buying properties together. And so it's nice. He's got several nice rental properties now. And so for me, just to be able to help my family and friends and all those people, get where they're going and accumulate wealth. For me, that's.
So is that your younger brother or older brother?
He is my younger brother. But all of my family owns homes in San Francisco, and I have sold all of them their homes. That is.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So you were born in San Francisco?
No, actually, I was born in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
I came out here in 2006, which again was right above, right when the housing kind of bubble was starting to happen, and I was looking at homes, and it was just, for me, I wasn't ready, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And then the market did actually crash, due to the subprime crisis,
Right.
and then I got in, right when it started to take back up again. Like, I bought in November of 2011. It was my first home in California. And it's just been going up since.
So you're trying to be like Warren Buffett, the what they call the Oracle of Omaha, of Nebraska, right?
Yeah. I've actually met him, but I was like 7 years old when I met him. Yeah, he knew my grandpa. My grandpa, I don't know how this is relevant, but my grandpa was the commissioner of Nebraska horse racing. And so we would go to the tracks, and I was just this little snotty-nosed 7-year-old, like, walking around the racetracks like, like a celebrity. So I got to meet some fun people that were in Omaha for sure during that time.
It sounds like you guys are trying to be like him, huh?
Kind of. He is my idol. Like, he's done everything. And, I remember talking to my grandma right before she passed, and it was just like, so what's on your bucket list? Like, what do you have left to do? And she was like, nothing. I've done everything I wanted to do in life, and that was them. They just wanted to do things, and they just figured it out and did it and got it done. And they're very inspirational people to me.
So I have never been to Omaha, But I heard of Omaha Steaks. But what is it about Omaha? I mean, about Nebraska? It's a small state. Tell me a little bit about it. The smallness is trying to be big or what?
Sure. So Nebraska is known for its beef because that's where the cattle yards were. So if you were a cattle farmer in Oklahoma or Kansas or whatever, you would take them to Omaha where we had a lot of grain to finish the cattle. And so then, so that's where the beef industry in Nebraska started, and that's how it got famous for that. So they would come up, the cows would come to Omaha for what's called finishing, which is where they just pump them full of grains to make them fatter, and then, you know, gives you prime grade steaks. So if you're into that.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds good. Thanks for the history there.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the market, right? Let's talk about the market.
Yeah.
Since 2013, when it took off, right? And stuff like that. So it's been almost 9 years for you. So you saw that. I mean, you live in San Francisco and you see, I live in Newark, right? Newark, California. And here the average price in 2012, okay, was, I'm talking about single family residence, 2012, where the market reached the bottom, was $352,000.
Wow.
Guess how much the price is today?
Newark, I 900,000, 800,000.
You're lucky to get a townhome for 900,000.
Okay.
The average single family residence in Newark is $1.5 million.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? $1.5 million. Fremont is 1.7. And I got the statistics. Okay, I can share that with you, but it's just amazing. It's just amazing. And you know what is the most expensive? I think you and I talked about this. It was like you or somebody else. What is the most expensive city in the East Bay?
I thought we were talking, it was either Piedmont or Alamo.
Yeah, it's Piedmont.
Yeah,
Piedmont is the most expensive city. And you know how much it is? The average house in Piedmont, they have this this colonial structures there. I mean, it's a beautiful little city just outside Oakland, you know. And it's actually part of Oakland, but they incorporated at some point, just like Newark did. Newark is part of Fremont, they incorporated. So Piedmont, the average price there, guess what? Maybe it's even more expensive than San Francisco. You know what the average price is in Piedmont?
I would have to guess in the mid twos, maybe.
$4 million.
Oh my gosh.
$4 million. Okay, so let's see if I can share something with you. Yeah, or with our audience here too. I share just what's happening in this market, and then that will be a segue to talk about what's happening right now. So I'll show you the average price. All right, let's see here. Market data. Let's get some market data. All right, so let's see Alameda County. Right, you don't see my screen, right? You don't see my screen yet?
I don't see your screen. I don't know. I don't have it pulled up on Facebook.
That's okay. I will share my screen. Okay, let's share screen here with the audience. All right, share screen. Here is it. Okay. All right, so there you go. Data.
Ah, there it is. Wow.
That's Piedmont right there. See, it's twice as expensive. So have you ever been to Piedmont?
Yeah, actually, yes, I have.
Yeah. So you see, this is Piedmont here, but let's look at the details. See right at the bottom here is Piedmont.
Yeah.
$4.1 million. This is all May data. May, right? And the cheapest or least expensive is San Lorenzo, followed by San Leandro. I was shocked when I was putting this data together. Look at Hayward, 1.1.
Yeah, that's crazy to see Hayward at 1.1 million.
Yeah, look at Oakland, right? And Oakland is a bigger city, but it's like 1.2, Albany, 1.3, Livermore. I was shocked when I saw Livermore, 1.4, right? Followed by Castro Valley. So I'm excited about some clients. They're buying the property right now. They're real estate agents, right? They're buying a property in Castro Valley for $760,000. Single family residence, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Guess what we're going to do for them, Tim? all right, we're gonna get the money to convert that thing to 1,300 square feet.
Okay.
Right? It's gonna cost about $300,000, right? So that cost base will be less than 1.1 million, and the house will be worth 1.3.
Nice.
And guess how much you're putting down?
Oh
50
man. Oh man. With
50,000.
you, who knows? You're probably 0% in dealing with you. Who knows?
Exactly. But they're coming up with only $50,000. I will get it done.
Okay, yeah.
At $50,000, no, and they want to flip it too.
Of course, of course.
$50,000, and they're gonna make at least $100,000
Oh yeah.
after paying all the costs, right? At
Yep.
least. What's the return on their money? 200%. And they do nothing but do what? Just put up that $50,000.
Yep.
Okay, Newark, this is where I am, 1.5. Like I said, back in 2012, this thing was not even. It was 352. And Fremont, which is here, was 522. And now it's 1.7 million.
Yeah.
Right? Dublin, I was shocked. Dublin, 1.8. Right? Berkeley, 1.8. Pleasanton, okay, 2 million. Wow, like they're competing with each other. And there you got this one. Yeah, right? Okay, so that is Alameda County. And let's see what's happening in Contra Costa County, which is also another East Bay city. So for those of you who are listening and maybe you're on the peninsula or San Francisco and looking to move east, right? Contra Costa gives you a lot of opportunities. You see, look at it. You know, Pittsburgh, they have the BART. Okay, you can take the BART and go to Pittsburgh. It's the cheapest one. Okay, Rodeo, small city. Okay, San Pablo is not too far from San Francisco. Right? And then have Antioch. Also, they have the BART right down Antioch. Oakley, it's a small city growing like crazy. Okay, 720. El Sobrante, it's not too far. It's actually right there near Berkeley. Richmond, next door. Discovery Bay, very nice city. It's a little far. You don't have the BART there. You know, you drive a little bit on Highway 4. Pinot, not too far from San Francisco. Martinez is the capital city of Contra Costa County. It's also less than $1 million. So Contra Costa County offers a lot of opportunities for people who are looking for bargains, especially now, because the market is changing a little bit. And we're going to talk about that. Concord, just next door to Walnut Creek. Look at this. It's less than $1 million. Hercules, not too far away from Pinot, from San Francisco, it's less than $1 million. Brentwood is a little bit further away, but there's a BART station nearby, you know, and they got some big houses over there. Great city, great schools, just like Oakley. Pleasant Hill, next door to Walnut Creek, it's actually going up a little bit too. El Cerrito, I'm surprised. El Cerrito and El Sobrante are just next door, but look at the price difference.
Yeah, that's twice as much. Yeah.
This is crazy, huh? Clayton, I'm shocked. Next door to actually Clayton is part of Concord, but look at Clayton where it is. 1.4 million. Walnut Creek, 1.7.
You know, I'm surprised to see that Pleasanton and Dublin are higher than Walnut Creek, because Walnut Creek used to be more than those other.
Yeah. Well, you see, Walnut Creek is a little bit bigger, right? So Pleasanton is small. And Dublin, man, you see a lot of people from Fremont have moved to Dublin. A lot of people from Fremont moved to Dublin. That's what's happening. Or you know, and Dublin, they built a lot. I'm shocked that Dublin is 1.8.
Yeah. Well, and they just expanded the BART lines down to Fremont too. And so that's kind of opened up that corridor for a lot of like the Tesla workers.
Yes, exactly. San Ramon, 2 million. It's even higher than Pleasanton. Orinda, oh yeah, those ones, right? Don't talk about Orinda, Moraga, and Lafayette, right? Lafayette is like second to the last, okay? They're all there in that corridor. Alamo, a small city. I mean, just a few months ago, I was looking at Alamo, it was 2 million, and now it's 2.9 million. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. What do you say to this?
Yeah, for me, it's crazy to see some of these East Bay cities that are even more expensive than San Francisco.
Yes.
As somebody who, I mean, my bread and butter is San Francisco here, but we're still, the average sale price is still at 1.9 million. So yeah, for me, it's interesting to see so many of those East Bay communities have now surpassed San Francisco for the average sale price.
Yeah, and those are main figures. So every month I track this, and that's why I have like the monthly report that I produce, right? And that's that. So I looked at the data in April compared to May, and there wasn't much of a difference. I was like curious about what's going to happen in May because of the high interest rates, but there wasn't much of a difference,
No,
right?
no.
I mean, there was a little bit more inventory for sure, but in terms of days on the market and in terms of the price, I didn't see a lot of drops. Okay, but what do you see in your market over there in San Francisco?
So in San Francisco, there's basically two different segments. There is the single family home market, which is just still red hot. Like pulling the data today, the average days on market for a single family home is still at 11 days.
Mhm.
So it's, you post it on Monday, open house, and it's gone in contract the next Wednesday. That's very typical for single family homes. Contrary to that is the condo market. The condo market, we're seeing the average days on market is 32 days.
Oh, really?
So there's a big discrepancy between the condos, townhomes, and the single family homes. Single family homes are still going at 20% above list. Condos more like 3 to 5% above list on average when they do go. There's people are in two different worlds. You've got the single family home, which is just still red hot. Everybody comes in, well above asking price for ones that are, properly priced in a decent condition. Condos are sitting there for a little bit longer, and you don't have to go above ask very much, when those hit the market.
Okay, that's interesting because my data is mostly my data is all single family, so I didn't analyze condos at all. So maybe I should look into that.
Well,
Okay.
San Francisco is a different bird. San Francisco, like as of this morning, there were 316 single family homes, whereas we got 956 condos. So, the majority of the market in San Francisco is condos.
Right.
And I lump any kind of multifamily. So like condos, townhomes, TICs, I put those all into one bin because it's, you're still living with your neighbors. So, so that's what really dominates the market here is condos.
So, okay, so your condos are staying longer on the market or not?
Oh yeah. Condos right now, the average days on market is 32 days. And that's been creeping up. If I go back, let me see, where is it? If I go back, condos, right now we're at 32 days. If I go back to, so I pull it up. If I go back to February, we were at 21 days. No, we were at 18 days back in February. So the big jump did come in May is when it really started to climb up. I do a Monday morning market update, and so I go over all these numbers and track it weekly, so you can kind of see it. Yeah. And yeah, starting in May, it's just every week it was another day or two extra for the days on market for the condos, but single family homes is
and also for single families.
I'm sorry, but not for single families, right? That's just been straight 11, 12 days, just ever since January. So
are you seeing that? Now the increase or the hike in interest rates, is the market being affected in San Francisco or not?
So the market has been affected in, we'll say, the lower price points. So that's why like condos are cheaper than the single family homes, and People are getting more conforming mortgages, or maybe not even, jumbo loans. And so they're the ones who've been affected. But when you look at the $2 million plus, most people are buying those in cash anyway. And so that's why there's been, in my opinion, that's why I think the data shows there's been no slowdown. The only slowdown that we have is there used to be 10 offers and now we have 3. So it's, so there has been a little bit of a slowdown, but again, still in that like over $2 million segment, most people are buying in cash anyway. So it hasn't really affected it.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, that's good to know. We provide for those high-end people, we provide some really good financing. They don't need any full documentation and all that kind of stuff. By the way, as we're watching this show, it's coming to you courtesy of the Money Market Inc., the Amazon for mortgage solutions. If you have somebody out there who's looking to, buy, or they want to refinance or want to pull out equity out of their home, we can do that for them. Okay, cool. So we're talking today about the market update. On the show with me is Tim Farnham. He has been in real estate since 2013, and he's an expert in San Francisco. And you also deal with the East Bay, right?
From time to time, I do. I had a stint where I was living in Castro Valley in Dublin for a little bit. So I still have some friends there and still do a little business out there too. Yeah. And actually, I got a house that I'm buying in Oakland with you in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. So.
Oh, good. That's amazing. Okay, cool. And then is that in West Oakland or is Oakland or where? Where is that?
I can't disclose the address, but it's on Seminary.
Seminary. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Seminary is a long street, right? Going east.
It is. But it's a nice little 2-bedroom. But yeah, it's the same, same thing. You've got some great loan programs, so we're gonna get that. We're gonna flip it.
Oh, it's a flip. Okay, great.
Yep,
Awesome.
Yep.
So, all right. So, are you seeing migration from San Francisco to East Bay cities now that people working out of their homes and stuff like that? And we're going to talk about, office structures and stuff like that. So, are you seeing people moving out of San Francisco or not?
I'm not seeing it at all. I feel like the news media loves to interview people that are leaving. But yeah. I do, when you look at rents out here, when you look at prices, it is all reflective of, outflow versus inflow. And absolutely, rents are going up and up and up. And, prices are still going up. And that is not indicative of people leaving a city. It's, a lot of these companies are starting to call for people to be back in the office. And even when you look at the job boards, a lot of them are saying, temporarily remote. So there's a lot of drive coming back into the city. Salesforce just built that huge, beautiful tower. And a lot of these big companies spend a lot of money to lease it. And they don't want to spend the money to, let the office be empty. So they're asking companies to come back. I've met people from Bloomberg, Twitter, obviously with Elon Musk, everybody's coming back,
Right.
So what we are seeing is a lot of people coming back into the city from everywhere, from across the country. Even some people are coming back from the East Bay because, they found a cheaper place with a little bit, more space, for the same price, out in Dublin or whatever. But now that they have to be in the city again, they're moving back.
There's some attraction to the city, right? I mean, you go there, you see, one time I went to Toronto, right? And I see, man, humans, even if you're 6 feet tall or even 7 foot tall, like Shaquille O'Neal, you're still very minuscule compared to what you're building. You see people building these huge buildings and stuff like that. It's just amazing what we're capable of doing. But downtown San Francisco is so beautiful, just so beautiful. So it's a magnet, right? It's a magnet. So cities are here to stay. People are talking about people are moving out of cities. Oh, granted, a lot of people move to places like Brentwood and places like New York City. People are moved out because they're allowed to work out of their homes. And I see if South Bay, for example, a lot of people move into Gilroy and Morgan Hill, they got bigger homes and stuff. But each city has this attraction to it, right? And San Francisco more so. Tell me about this. I mean, why did you move to San Francisco?
Why? Oh, because it's beautiful. There's always something to do. Golden Gate Park, I can't tell you how many times I just wanted to go take my kids out, to the park, and there's some like big headlining band doing like a free concert, like the Foo Fighters or whoever. So, it's exciting. And like, I live downtown, right next to Yerba Buena, and there's always just concerts in the park every weekend. And I don't know, it's really exciting. There's a lot of fun stuff to do. And I think that attracts people too. And even the weather, when it's 100 degrees in Pleasanton, it's 75 degrees here and sunny and beautiful. So the weather is, more temperate, and that attracts a lot of people too. So, the weather, the activities, there's
variety,
the culture.
Yes. Okay, that's great. Yeah, every time I go to the city, it's like I'm just mesmerized. Oh wow, all these fine buildings and stuff like that. I wish I worked in one of them. But that's so expensive.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's just great. I mean, so that's why I like to have this show, because you see, you are the subject matter expert. You know that market. You've been in it for almost 10 years now. And stuff like that. So you know it like the back of your hand. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten this from the media, right? I'm getting it exactly from you, because the media is just a reporter, right? They're a reporter, and they'll get the information from you, right? Why don't you hear it from the horse's own mouth? And that's why I started this thing, like, okay, and I hope that more realtors can join this and talk about their market, weekly, so we'll learn a lot from you today. Yeah. So what else would you like to add before we part? Okay, no, let's talk about this. Okay, you see, the interest rates going up. How is that going to affect the market in San Francisco? So far, you said things that people are buying cash, because I mean that's where companies are like Twitter and all that kind of stuff, so they can afford it. But how do you think that the interest rates are going to affect the market going forward?
Right. So I was Mr. Conservative Dave Ramsey. He's Mr. Have no debt, don't do anything. He put out a great video yesterday, and he was saying that despite interest rates going up, the fundamental issue is that there are not enough homes being built. And he talked about how 10 years ago, there was something like 2.5 million homes being built in the US per year. Now we're at like 1.1 million. So we have the fundamental issue of population is increasing, yet home supply is decreasing. So from a fundamental level, you've got the supply and demand that despite what interest rates are doing, you still have a housing shortage. So even he, Mr. Conservative, Mr. Don't have any debt, says if you're going to buy a house, still do it today, because interest rates are going up and prices will continue to go up. He's expecting a 5% increase this year, which is down from his previous projection. But even Mr. Conservative is saying, expect about a 5% increase this year, despite mortgage rates going up. So yes, the trajectory is coming down a little bit, but there's a big difference between the trajectory going down and homes actually losing value.
Interesting. So that's coming from Dave Ramsey. Yeah.
That's coming from Dave Ramsey. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So even though I think basically right now, if you see a damp in real estate demand, it could be that maybe it's a knee-jerk reaction. Because I remember when COVID hit, it looks like, okay, everybody felt like the world is going to just fall apart. It's going to end. And you bring somebody a deal and say, I'm not interested, right? I do development, and it's like I had this thing in Fremont by the BART station, the next BART station they're going to build. And nobody was interested anymore, right? Lucrative product, but nobody was interested. But guess what happened? What COVID did? It's actually jacked up the price because the demand was still very high, but the supply was low, right?
Yeah.
And you said it, because the supply is still low. Do you know why? Why is it that the builders out there, I mean, that incentive, why they did not build a lot? compared to 10 years ago, or compared to not 10 years ago, 2008, about
Sure.
14 years ago.
Builders face so many challenges. There's still this not in my backyard philosophy that a lot of existing homeowners have, where they don't want the development going up next door. I remember there was a developer in Dublin right next to the BART station. They were going to put something like 500 units in, and there was major backlash from the community because they didn't want more homes being built, even though it was, as a cornfield. So you've got these political pressures where people who already own don't want more homes because it increases the value of their home and they don't want the traffic, and also there's a little bit of unpredictability in the market in terms of commodities, lumber, steel, all that stuff. And so when you're a builder, it's a 3 to 5 year plan by the time you find the land, get the permits, build it, sell it, and with costs going up and down and up and down, when they see more volatility, they need to scale back because they can't take on the risk, and because they do carry a lot of debt when they do these developments. So they really do have to scale back when they're facing volatility. So that's kind of those two factors, in my opinion, are what's really pumped the brakes on new home starts.
Man, you know your stuff, huh? That's good.
I love economics, and I literally I just finished my MBA, where I studied economics, global economics, all this stuff, because for me this is fascinating. And so I kind of and like as a former nuclear engineer, like data and analysis, that's my jam. So
I love data too. My first degree is actually radio, film, and television production, but my master's degree is international relations and economics. And so I ended up in Taiwan because of that. That's another story, but that's good. I love data too. I mean, I love data because that's what drives everything, right? So the details are in the data, right? So that's great. I mean, that's good information there. So, okay, great. For those people who are listening or watching this and are afraid that the market is going to crash anytime soon, you just heard it from my good friend here. It's not going to crash.
It's not going to crash. It's not going to crash. And when you look at what happened, it was the subprime mortgage. Half the people who bought homes couldn't afford it, period. So when their arms went up, they had to sell. We don't have that today. We don't have that. So we're in a much different environment of where even if people, start losing their jobs, a lot of them can still afford it. And a lot of, it's not like these adjustable rate mortgages are going to expire and then half the homes that sold in the past 2 years need to go on the market. So it's a way different environment. So we'll see a little bit of a slowdown, but an actual decrease is highly unlikely by almost every economist out there.
That's good. And it's coming from you, nuclear scientists and nuclear economists too. That's great. Okay. And you can see it. Sure. The economy is run by demand and supply. So the supply is still very low. And you're right. I was around when 2008 happened. I was around when crooks were coming from Florida, coming to California, and were boasting. I was fairly new in real estate at the time, but I would go from one seminar to another, and people are telling you, oh my goodness, you meet somebody say, oh, they'll be boasting, hey, I got 9 properties. How many do you have? And they bought all those properties, no money down. No money down. So of course, he got nothing at stake, no skin in the game. So of course, you'll be the first person to run away if the tenants aren't paying the mortgage. You're not gonna pay the mortgage. And you were negative, okay? There was no cash flow. Even if the tenant was paying the mortgage, but you're negative cash flow, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to keep that property.
Right.
There's no penny in it.
And then the other thing too is that a lot of them were adjustable rate mortgages. Back in the day, I mean, before 3% 30-year conventional was normal, that was the thing. You could either pay 5% for a 30-year fix, or you could do 3% for a 2 or 3 year ARM. And so a lot of people chose those products, and when they readjusted to 5%, they had, they weren't qualified. So they
had what's called a pick and pay, right? Pick and pay. That means they'll give you option on, right? Like 3 types of loans, okay? I mean,
Yeah.
the same loan, right? So they give you, maybe your rate is 5%, but you can start off paying just 1%. And so your principal will be increasing every year, and you think you're doing okay. And then after the first year, you're no longer paying 1%, you're paying 3% or paying
Yeah.
4% or even 5%. And if the market's going down, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna continue to do that. And if you put nothing in, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna keep that thing. So what happened in 2008? I mean, I used to live in Manteca. My first home was in Manteca, right? You know where Manteca is?
I actually, where is that? I'm sorry.
Huh?
I actually don't know where that is. Where is that?
Oh, Manteca is near Tracy. Tracy, you have Dublin. So
Yeah.
after Livermore, then you got Tracy. And after Tracy is Manteca.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and
I
then
don't have to
after
feel
that,
guilty for not knowing where that is.
yes, that's where I bought my first home, right? And so I went back then when the market crashed. Actually my first REO listing back then was in Modesto. So I went back and I said, oh my goodness, people are just walking away from properties.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think you're ever gonna see that again, never,
Yeah.
right? Because even if you put nothing down, and we have loan programs where we put nothing down, we're still gonna look at your income. Okay, we're gonna look at your income, see if your debt to income ratio will qualify you. Right?
Yeah.
We're not looking so much on the loan to value, we're looking at your debt to income ratio. You got a job, you can afford to pay this thing, sure. Okay, there's disclosures that you need to sign and stuff like that. There's no fraud. Absolutely no. Okay, unlike back then, there was fraud. Loan officers were fraudulent, banks were fraudulent, and the title companies were fraudulent. Everyone was fraudulent, including Greenspan. Everyone was fraudulent. The
Yeah.
government was fraudulent.
Right.
But it's not like that now. They have
Right.
Dodd-Frank in place. They got all these disclosures and stuff. So basically, you don't have that. So it's not going to
Right.
crash. So if you're watching this and thinking like my friend, my client called me and said, "Hey, Paul, my neighbor just put a property up on the market, because and he just bought it a year and a half ago, and it's going to rent. It's going to sell, so they're going to rent." And she was wondering, Paul, do you think the market is going to crash? Should we do the same thing? That's it. So long as you can afford your mortgage. And
Yeah.
honestly, I refinance it from a rate of 4% to 2.75%. If you can afford that, it doesn't matter whether the market is going down, whether the values are going down. It does not matter. It's like,
Exactly.
are you able to afford it? Do you have a job?
Yeah.
And the unemployment rate is still very low, right? It's still
Yeah.
very low.
When people ask me, clients, non-clients, friends, family, they ask me, is now a good time to buy? And my answer is always, it depends. What are you trying to do? Why do you want to buy? If you're a long-term person and you just want to buy a home and raise your family and build equity, now is still a great time to buy. And, I saw the statistics. It's like, even if the market crashes in California, if you buy a home, even if you buy at the peak of the market, within 7 years, you got your money back. So, and that was true. There's maybe a couple small like niche markets where like that didn't work. Like we'll just say like 1-bedroom condos downtown San Francisco, maybe not the same, but overwhelmingly in 7 years, even if the market does crash, it will rebound and you will get your money back. So if you're looking at like a short-term play in this market, I don't know, maybe not, maybe now is not the right time. But if you're looking to build equity over the long term and have a nice, safe place and know that your rent isn't going to go up every year, now is still a great time to buy. And despite interest rates, these interest rates were very normal a couple of years ago. So it's not like interest rates are high. They're just normal again, but they appear high just because of what we've seen over the past 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So basically, like I said, I normally tell people, you make your money when you buy, anyways, not when you sell, because
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's your home, you think, oh my, it's my investment. Okay, your biggest investment, but it's your home, and like you said, every 7 years going to go up. Honestly, like the data I shared, right? The value, the Newark, gone up 500% in the last 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Go figure. right? So if
Yep.
somebody back then said, okay, 2013, some people are going to think, oh, this isn't a good time to buy. The
Yeah.
market just started going up.
Yeah. Well, and do the math. I
2015,
bought a home in Castro Valley, 2014. I bought it for $990.
yes,
And I did it with it was 10% down. It was an 80-10-10 loan. So I had 90 grand into it, or I had 100 grand into it.
yes.
Right now it's worth 2.1 million.
There you go.
So from $100,000 investment, over 8 years, I order of magnitude more. I mean, the returns that you can get if you just buy and hold are
Yes.
incredible.
Yes. I know, because I made one big mistake back when we were buying them in 2000. I actually had access to Arios, okay, Chase properties as well as Wells Fargo properties, and we're buying them. Instead of them deluging the market with distressed assets, they were selling them to us, and we'll fix them up and put them on the market and flip them. I'm looking at all those homes. Actually, that's how I started the Money Market Inc. Because I felt like, man, goodness, fast forward 2017, those homes that quadrupled in value, and the guys who bought them from us with little or no money down, now they have $400,000 equity in the property,
Yeah.
and we who flipped the properties only made $50,000 or less.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I kept some of them?
Exactly. And I think that's what a lot of renters, struggle with is they look at a cash flow and they say, well, after my mortgage and taxes, I'm paying a little bit more than what I'm renting. But what people forget is that it's a leveraged asset. If you buy $1 million home for, with even, we'll just say 20% down, but it goes up 5% a year, you're looking at a 25% return on your investment. And that's money that you otherwise would have just paid on rent. So that extra $500 or $600 that you paid to own the place has just made you $25,000 a year.
Yes.
So, when you start, when people, so when I have buyers and they're talking about, well, I can rent a place and I can save a few, but it's like, okay, but why are you buying? Are you buying for security? Because also rent is going to go up.
Yes.
In 4 years, what do you think rent is going to be? Oh, cool. Because your mortgage is going to be the same.
Yes.
So, when you buy a house, even in today's market, what you're doing is you're buying financial security. And, who knows, maybe the financial gods will lower interest rates and then you refinance at 3% in 2 years, and then who, so it's.
I mean, you said it right. If you're renting, if you get a mortgage, it's fixed for 30 years. It's going to stay the same, right? If you're renting the next 10 years alone, and even with California restricting to 5% increase, guess what? In 10 years, it's going to be 50%.
Yeah.
Right? Your rent will increase 50%, and you got nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
So buying is the right thing to do. Owning is the right thing to do, especially if you can afford it. Honestly, I was looking at some stuff today. Somebody sent me stuff for down payment assistance. The American dream is still alive.
Yeah.
But even if somebody cannot afford to put anything down, you still have down payment assistance. You got stuff.
Yeah.
So by all means, especially now that the market is weak a little bit, so you don't have these what they call them, bidding wars anymore.
Right.
So it's a great time to buy, right? It's a great time to buy and take advantage. Because another thing is that sellers can give you what? Sellers can now give you a seller credit. You can get
we are now starting to see buyers ask for some credits at close. And often, what I've seen is it's asking them to buy a point on the mortgage. To buy down the interest rate a little bit, and, some of those sellers, they're getting a great price. They bought the property 20 years ago for, a third what they're selling it for, giving them 1 point to buy down their mortgage is nothing.
Exactly. So interest rates are not that high. Everybody talk about hike. It's like, as if it's like, wow, it's hiked by 10%. It's
Right.
not by point, less than a point, right? I was talking to somebody yesterday, I think it was 2 days ago, and when he went to real estate, at that time, back in the 70s or something, interest rates were around 21%, right? He's a mortgage broker too. He's been doing it for 40 years. Interest rates were 21%. And then the market was hot for them for MLOs back then. If you're able to take somebody from 21% to 17% interest, can you imagine that? So people come to you, right? And then everybody's quiet about interest rates hikes as if, boy, you're gonna take a hike in somewhere, you're gonna go on a hike or something like that. No, it's interest rates are relatively low. I mean, even at 6 right now, we're seeing FHA is still less than 4%, depending on your credit, right? And conventional is 5%, jumbo around that too, right? And like you said, instead of people dropping their prices, why don't you just transfer some of that, to the buyers, right? Fannie Mae allows up to 6% seller credit. So instead of dropping the price and 5%, why don't you just say, okay, I'm going to offer the buyer, right, 6%. I'm going to give you 6% towards your non-recurring closing costs. That way, everybody wins. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see any price drops recently?
So I am tracking on that. This last week, there were 100 price drops in San Francisco. However, 82 of those were in the condo market, right? That's where the days on market is a long time. And, when I dig a little bit deeper into the data where we're seeing price drops in the single family homes, it's usually, they're usually rental properties that still have tenants in them. And that's where we're seeing the price drops in the single family home. But in the, in the move-in ready, just, put your stuff in the house and, enjoy your life. Those homes, no price reductions. I'm sorry, and, you might get it for list, but you're not getting it for under list yet. So, yeah.
Well, Tim, it was a pleasure having you on the show today. And it was really a pleasure. I know a little bit more about you now as a nuclear scientist. You're not touching those nuclear things anymore. But your nuclear thing right now is real estate data, right? And service.
That's right.
And giving people what they want, like Zig Ziglar. If you give them what they want, they give you what you want. And I'm sure you're really enjoying it, right?
Absolutely. It's my handing people keys to their new homes is like, that is the best. That is the best when you hand them the keys, the look on their face, the excitement they have. That's the best.
Sounds like you found your purpose in life.
I think so. As an agent, I solve people's problems. They're in a spot, they don't really like it. They know there's a better place, either financially, location, size, whatever. And that's what we do is we help people move from one spot to another, in as best way that you can and really help them out.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Yes,
right, sounds good. Thank you, Paul.
Have a great weekend, my brother. Okay.
Right, bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.